All right, so we're talking about offensive tackles, continuing on, free agent. I talked about Rasheed Walker. We have film room up on him. I want to do a quick film room here on Braden Smith, who I think is one of the more interesting offensive tackles available. He's older, right? He is just about to turn 30 at the end of next month, so he'll be signing, whether with the Colts or a new team, at the start of the season. Obviously, he'll be a 30-year-old player. He's been with Indy for the better part of it looks like 8 seasons now, and has been, fine. I think obviously he, in his first 5 years in the league, had north of 1,000 snaps 3 times, not been as healthy in the last 3 seasons. But when he has been playing, he's been quite effective, and honestly, one of the better right tackles in the league. I think you could put him squarely at the top of the list. But the problem is, again, some injury history here that has to be weighed. Obviously, when you spend 8 seasons and still in your prime with one team, and as you'll see him here playing right tackle, that's what he's been for the Colts throughout his duration of time with them. You do see a player, again, who, like I said, you're weighing, again, 8 years in the league. Is he going to go out and test the market? He's had a second contract with that team. But I do find it fascinating that if he does hit the market and there is like a mesh of talent and price point, he would be a little better than some options out there, including Walker. But I don't know that he gets there. I think he's a more clean pass pro player than run block player right now. He obviously deals with a position that is dealing with more power than ever before. I mean, Will Anderson here, who I think is one of the premier pass rushers in the league, 51 year off the edge, right after Myles Garrett, Micah Parsons. Great job here of showing, like, hey, man, going to deal with that speed to power right through the chest, but then reset, fight, get back underneath and reset, keep the pocket alive. I think he does a really nice job in these settings of dealing with those power players and then resetting the pocket. Again, really effective in that spot. So I want to give you some clips of his here again against the Texans. Does a good job. It's a really clean kick step. I think the footwork is really smooth. He does a good job kind of compacting hands. I think he keeps them in a low, good position more often than not. Does a good job of making guys run the arc. I think that's a good part of his pass blocking repertoire. And again, I just like the patience he plays with, where he'll sell that he's going to put hands out. You'll see here kind of selling, playing that game of when is he going to strike versus, obviously a lot of pass rushers will do a nice job of knocking hands away, getting you off balance. I do find his approach to be relatively patient and well-timed in this regard. I think he does a nice job with it. Again, right tackle over here. Again, you look for 72 as we go through these, consistently lining up in the same spot. Just again, like when he's either moving down, like we see here, kind of shuffle mirror technique as we're in a block down scenario, he does a great job latching on, staying on. He doesn't really have too many reps where he's a part of any either like not getting into the chest plate of an opposition or losing somebody too smooth. This is James Pierce. Now, obviously a guy who was up for Rookie of the Year last year. We don't know where his career is going to go, but a very talented player last year playing in his rookie year. Good, clean, jump set wide. So instead of a drop set here, we're kind of expanding outside, right? Doing a good job taking on that inside long arm, then getting back. You see him lift that arm, get back under it. Watch him lift that right arm off, get back under, and stay in front of him. Does a really clean job. And that's a theme, I think, in his tape, is how well he's able to handle both applying the punch and then being able to redirect hands and put himself in a clean position. Again, dealing with a power approach here, 2 hands right through the chest plate, deal with that, get back under him, and then be able to, again, he gets his hand knocked off, watch his outside hand get clubbed away, but he repositions it, gets back on the inside shoulder, gets himself into the right spot to give his quarterback plenty of time to make a play. Right tackle again, this is against Will Anderson, who's in a very wide technique on this one. So you're going to have to deal with some momentum, right? Now, this is where at times, as we look at some of his pressures allowed, if there's the guys who are true bully players, at times will get the best of him if he doesn't get that proper bend into it and deal with that power threshold, right? That's an example of it right there. And I'm going to show you some of his pressures allowed on the year here at right tackle. Again, under center look, right? So we're dealing with, again, somebody that can get the long arms into the chest plate, knock him off balance. That's a little bit of the problem. You'll see he only allowed 26 pressures last year. Here's a look at dealing with TJ Watt running the high side. He doesn't get that right arm. You see the right arm kind of slow down TJ's upfield number and then you're going to have to deal with trying to push them past the pocket. You need your quarterback to step up a little bit here, but again, dealing with those dynamic pass rushers that the league has to offer, running, being able to handle the high side is important, right? Again, dealing with straight up bull rush power. How does he handle it? I think there's enough good reps on tape against this, but he can get caught in pressure allowed scenarios where he will, that patience he has with the hands will something I think he could benefit from mixing up every now and again, and being the first to initiate that contact to take away that momentum would serve a good purpose for him. But this is, again, it's really not that frequent on his tape where he's dealing with that and doesn't handle it very well. One of the few times where he just gets fooled, this is a linebacker from depth, tries to go in. He thinks he's going to turn inside, but gets turned around, allows a pressure there. That's, again, this is just a broad look at pressures allowed. Right tackle, again, to the YY side, right side of the screen, dealing with a pass rush from serious width, right? Low hands. Just, again, kind of setting that pocket. I don't think his rep here is too bad if the quarterback was able to step up. Didn't have a ton of room to step up, but I do think he could benefit by being the one driving out on these every now and again and being the first to contact, knock some of those hands away and pull into a little bit of that snatch trap technique where guys are getting a little forward lean and then kind of letting their momentum pull them to the ground. I think he could benefit from some of that stuff in some of his tape. But again, these are not all too frequent. Back under center here, just to look again at just kind of needing to stay on. These are just, again, broad pressure examples from the tape. I think we're dealing with a spin move, an inside spin move. I didn't see him get beat inside very often, but he does on this one get beat inside, and still football gets thrown, we get caught for a touchdown. I wanted to also look at, this is just another example of inside, but again, you're dealing with this back inside, trying to run through it. It's a tough position to play. I don't think, if I show you every single rep, there's not very many of these, but there are some examples of where, hey, a little slow out of the stance on this one. If you see the ball snapped, he's one of the last out of his stance, and then he gets kind of vulnerable to the high side and can get beat inside. Just something to keep in mind. But he's way, way, way better at this collectively dealing with it than a lot of what we've seen from the Browns by a wide margin. I actually think it's few and far between he gets beat on those. And I tried to show you some examples before where he does a good job. As far as run blocking goes, very impressed. The ability here to set the front side of this zone concept, just tight zone, right? Be able to handle that. Don't let him get back inside. Look at that bully work down the field. Just a fantastic job off the right side. Again, 72 over here. This is just a prime example, man. I think this guy does a really good job, Smith does, on the front side of zone concepts, rooting guys out, staying on, creating pathways. None of that is his fault, right? Backside collection. Again, front side, right side of your screen, climbing to the second level, right? Doesn't necessarily break down the times the way you need to. That's a pretty good play by, I think that's Alzay Shair. So, just you want to break down a little cleaner on that one. Doesn't have a great rep there, but I think collectively across the board, what I watched across 7 games was really, really effective. It's still moving really well, as you can see here, just chasing down wide zone off the backside of this. Well, this is more of a pin pull and just kind of trying to run for that backside backer and getting hands on, which ultimately doesn't allow 32 to make the play. It's pretty impressive. And again, right tackle on this side of the screen, I think we have against a penny front, which we're going to talk about this because that's the Falcons' collective defense. We're going to see the breakdown. But this is just, look at the backside work here against the 3 tech, man. Just getting, scooping, fighting down the line. Great job. He does such a good job on the backside. And I think when he's tasked with the front side edge, I think he does a really clean job, like right here against Pierce, of rooting those guys out, whether kicking out or if they're down inside, logging them down inside. I think he does a really nice job. Again, back in gun with the wide tight end next to him in the wing. Hey, man, we got a crash down. We got a late crash going from 45, Arden Key inside. We got to wash it down. Look at that wash down, man. Just opening up the right side for his running back. Really good rep. And the Colts had one of the better run games in the league last year. Again, right tackle, man, we got to get this guy. We got to get to the second level. Watch how quick and clean he's able to do this. And just a better example of like ass-kicking nature in the run game, turning that linebacker, man, just just a fantastic job. Just stuff the Browns weren't getting, just not even getting to open up run lanes like you see right here that turns into an 82-yard touchdown. So, I mean, listen, I think Smith is still he's at that 30-year-old age. You kind of worry about that. You kind of worry about money, but like looking at this stuff, man, how he handles zone blocking, front side kickouts, like you see here, burying his man, it's still there. He's still playing at a high level, and I think the pass pro is good enough, as the grades would indicate, that he can still get it done far more often than not. So a 2-year, 3-year deal for a guy just turning 30 is an interesting thing. It's just, again, weighing how much consistency does he have playing, and especially with the Browns' experience recently with some of those older offensive linemen, you do worry about a little bit of that. But if it's a question of, hey, we're signing and can he still play, definitely getting it done. So I have 2 more offensive tackles to get to in the free agency market that interest me. I will have those covered for you, but that is Braden Smith. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Hopefully the Browns are interested. If Smith gets out of Indy, we will be sure to cover him more in depth if they do get an opportunity to sign him. That's it. That's all for today. Browns Film Breakdown Film Room. Thanks for being here, and go Browns.